Imagine a tennis court. Not the pristine grass of Wimbledon, but a muddy, blood-soaked rectangle in the hills of northeast India in the spring of 1944. On one side, British and Indian soldiers, exhausted, starving, reduced to their last shells. On the other side, Japanese infantry, so close you can hear their breathing. 25 meters, the width of a tennis court. For 2 weeks, they fought on this absurd battlefield, grenades hurled like tennis balls, corpses piled in utility boxes. This is the story of Kohima and Imphal, a battle so fierce, so desperate, that 60,000 men died on these forgotten hills, a battle in which the Japanese army chose annihilation rather than retreat. Welcome to Forgotten Frontlines. Let's rewind to March 1944. The war in Burma is a nightmare. The British had already retreated 1,000 miles from Rangoon to India 2 years earlier, one of the longest retreats in history. But now they've regrouped. General William Slim, a blue-collar officer who worked his way up through the ranks, commands the 14th Army. 85% of his men are Indian and Gurkha soldiers. They're stockpiling supplies on the Imphal plain, preparing to reconquer Burma. But the Japanese aren't waiting. Led by General Renya Mudaguchi, the victor of Singapore, a man with Napoleonic ambitions and, frankly, a stubbornness that would make a mule blush. His plan? Operation You Go. He wanted to cross the Chindwin River and break through the British defenses at Imphal and Kohima, cut their supply lines, and march on Delhi. Oh, and all this while living off captured British supplies. Because, you know, what could go wrong? His own division commanders thought he was crazy. General Kotoku Sato, who had led the assault on Kohima, called Mudaguchi a blockhead. But in Tokyo, the plan was appreciated. In March 1944, 85,000 Japanese soldiers began crossing the Chindwin, crossing some of the most hostile terrain on Earth. Mountains, jungle, monsoon rains that could drown a standing man. They carried their artillery on the backs of oxen. Oxen that would also serve as, well, dinner, if they got that far. Mudaguchi divided his forces into 3 divisions. The 33rd Division would attack Imphal from the south, the 15th Division would attack from the east, and Sato's 31st Division, 20,000 elite troops, would drive north through the mountains to capture Kohima and then Dimapur, the vital railhead. If Kohima fell, Imphal would be isolated. If Imphal fell, India itself would be at risk. General Slim had seen it coming. He had intercepted the Japanese signals. He knew they were short of supplies, desperate, overconfident. So I made a calculated gamble. Let them come. He ordered his divisions to withdraw to Imphal to fight them on the plains, where British tanks and planes could dominate. And he ordered his surrounded troops to be resupplied by air to make the Japanese bleed. And they bled. In early April, a Japanese diversionary attack hit the administrative box in the Arakan, a supply depot of about 1 square kilometer defended by clerks and cooks. For 14 days, Japanese infantry charged the barbed wire. Artillery pounded the defenses. They even raided the field hospital and massacred the wounded. But the defenders held firm. 8,000 men against 6,000 elite Japanese soldiers. In the end, 5,000 Japanese lay dead in the jungle. On April 5th, Sato's 31st Division reached Kohima, a quiet mountain station at 1,500 meters. The administrative center of Nagaland. A few barracks, a prison, a hospital, and the district commissioner's bungalow with its manicured gardens and tennis court. Defending it? A garrison of 2,500 men and a British battalion, the Royal West Kents, commanded by Colonel Hugh Richards. They were outnumbered 6-1. The siege began immediately. The Japanese overran the hill, cutting off the road to Dimapur. They captured the northern positions. They approached the central ridge, and then the tennis court. I want you to imagine this. You're entrenched in a trench on one side of a tennis court. On the other side, 25 meters away, Japanese soldiers are also dug in. You hear them coughing, whispering, loading their rifles. Fear is in every soldier's eyes. Water in their boots, mud up to their knees. So many corpses, British, Indian, Gurkha, Japanese, rotting in the sun because there's no safe way to bury them. Flies everywhere, drinking water scarce. Sleep? Forget it. And every night the Japanese attack. For 2 weeks, the Royal West Kents and the garrison held that tennis court. 25 large-scale infantry assaults, grenade, bayonet, hand-to-hand fighting in the darkness. Corporal John Harmon, a British soldier, single-handedly charged a Japanese machine gun emplacement. He killed the crew with a grenade. He returned the machine gun to his lines. Then he did it again. And again. He was hit by the third charge. As he lay dying, he said, "I got them all. It was worth it." 13 officers and 200 men of the West Kents died on that hill. By the time reinforcements arrived on April 18th, the defensive perimeter had been reduced to a shell-ravaged area, 350 square meters. The British 2nd Division fought through the checkpoints at Zubza. The Cameron Highlanders smashed through the Japanese positions with bayonets and tanks hoisted up near vertical slopes. When they finally reached Kohima, one soldier described the scene. The dead lay unburied. Small squads of bearded, dirty riflemen stared into space, too stunned to realize they were safe, too tired to believe their eyes. But Kohima wasn't over. The fighting raged throughout May. The Japanese, starving and sick, refused to retreat. General Sato finally withdrew only in early June, but by then his division of 20,000 men had been reduced to 2,000 survivors, a 90% casualty rate. At Imphal, the siege lasted 3 months. The 14th Army, supplied entirely by air, held the plain. RAF and American transport planes brought in 19,000 tons of supplies and evacuated 13,000 wounded. Japanese attacks on the Nungshigam Heights were all repelled. On June 22nd, British tanks from Kohima joined the defenders at Imphal. The siege was broken. The Japanese began to retreat. The retreat was a nightmare. Mutaguchi's great offensive, Operation Yugo, had turned into a death march. Starving soldiers staggered through the jungle. Monsoon rains washed away the trails. No food, no medicine. Dysentery, malaria, beriberi. Of the 85,000 Japanese soldiers who crossed the Chindwin in March, 60,000 never returned. British and Indian forces suffered 20,000 casualties, but they had won. Kohima and Imphal became the turning point of the Burma campaign, the springboard for the liberation of Burma. In May 1945, the 14th Army, Slim's forgotten army, would retake Rangoon. Today, the Kohima War Cemetery stands on Garrison Hill, 1,400 graves, and on the memorial of the British 2nd Division, an inscription, "When you return home, tell them of us and say, 'For your tomorrow, we gave our today.'" But here's what haunts me. This battle, one of the largest and most brutal of the Second World War, is little known outside of military history circles. No Hollywood movies, no grandiose memorials in London or Washington, just a tennis court in the hills, and the ghosts of 60,000 men. If you want to uncover more front lines that time forgot, hit that subscribe button, because history isn't just what we remember, it's what we choose not to forget. I'm Marcus, and I'll see you on the next battlefield.